Hello students, welcome to this session on product lifecycle management. So today we'll be looking at the first module in this subject PLCM, that is Introduction to Product Lifecycle Management, Lecture 1. So my name is Mr. Srinivas Shanai and I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering of Canara Engineering College. So these are the contents that we will be looking in this lecture 1 of Introduction to PLCM. So first topic that we are going to discuss in this particular chapter will be the introduction to PLCM and its definition. So what exactly is meant by PLCM or product lifecycle management, and how is exactly it is defined will be seen first. And then we will briefly look into the PLCM lifecycle model, wherein it describes how the life cycle of a product is, and what is the standard model that is being followed in the life cycle of a product. And once the life cycle of the PLM is understood, next we will be going to the various stages of a product life cycle. So once a product is introduced into the market, how exactly it will be going through the various stages in the market. So what are the different stages of the product life cycle will also be seen in the next content. And then finally we'll look at the different phases of PLM. So these are the four topics that I am going to discuss in this lecture 1 of Introduction to PLCM. First, so let us first look at the introduction or the definition of product lifecycle management. So the definition of PLM goes like this. So product lifecycle management is the business activity of managing in the most effective way a company's products all the way across their life cycles. So how effectively you manage the business of a company all the way across the life cycle of the product, right from the beginning stage of the product till the end stage of the product. How exactly and how effectively and how efficiently you manage the life cycle of the product, that itself is called as product life cycle management. From the very first idea for a product all the way through until it is retired and disposed. So your product life cycle management begins right from the first idea of the product. So right from the first idea till the end of the life of the product, that is till the product is retired or till the product is disposed. What is the how effectively you manage the business activities of the product is what is defined as product life cycle management. So PLM manages products from the beginning of their life, including the development stage, through the growth and the maturity stage to the end of the life. So when you say PLM, it does not begin at the starting stage or the first idea of the product and then it is again coming into picture at the end. It is there throughout the life cycle of the product. So PLM manages the products right from the beginning of their life. So management of the products begins from the beginning of the life of the product, including the development of the product. PLM is also there in the development phase. It is also there in the growth phase. It is also there in the maturity phase till the end of the life of the product. So the total life cycle, right from the very first idea of the product till the beginning of the product till the end of the product. So from the beginning till the end, what is the or how effectively do you manage the products is what is called as product life cycle management. So the objective of PLM is to increase product revenues. So the basic objective of product lifecycle management is to increase the revenues. Now, the more effectively you manage the life cycle of the product, the more better the product will be. And if the product is better compared to the competitor's product, then the chances of sales of your product is much more. So if your product is selling more, then obviously the revenues generated will be more and the profits will be more. So definitely that is one of the major objectives of PLM, that is to increase the product revenues. and also to reduce the product related costs. Now it is not sufficient if you build a very nice quality product and if you sell it for a very high price. Ultimately your customer should be able to buy that particular product. So there is no point in building a product or making a product which is too expensive and which customers will not buy. So that is why it is very much necessary to reduce the product related cost as well, and also to maximize the value of the product. Now whenever the quality increases, definitely the cost also increases. So there should be a balance between the value of the product or the quality of the product and the product related cost. So there should be some kind of a balance, and an organization or a company must be able to give better value products or better quality products at a lesser price, and to maximize the value of current and future products. So these are some of the objectives of PLM, that is to increase the revenues, to reduce the product related cost, to maximize the value of the product, and to maximize the value of your current products and whatever future products you are planning to sell in the market. So even the value of the future products also needs to be taken into account when you're thinking of implementing PLM. So and these products are for both customers as well as the shareholders. So PLM needs to make sure that it increases the revenues, reduces the costs, maximize the values of the products, and maximize the value of the current as well as the future products. So these are some of the basic objectives of product lifecycle management. So next we'll be looking at PLM lifecycle model. Now that we have understood what is product lifecycle management, we have seen the definition of product lifecycle management. The next topic that we are going to discuss will be PLM lifecycle model. So this is a basic lifecycle model, and this model is general for all the products, whatever the kind of product is, or whatever services or goods an organization or a company manufactures. These are the general stages that a product has to go through. Okay, so let's begin with the product lifecycle model. So it all begins from the requirement analysis and planning. So as you can see here, the first stage of the PLM lifecycle model is the requirement analysis and planning. So this requirement analysis and planning, this is where all the beginning of the product begins from, or the life of the product begins from. So the first stage in PLM lifecycle model is to take the customer feedback. So it is very much essential to understand what your customer needs. So depending on the needs of the customer, depending on the specifications of the customers, depending on what exactly customers need, a market survey is conducted, and marketing team comes into picture here. So the business development or business function comes into picture, and the people involved in these business functions or these marketing managers are more active during these phases. So usually what happens is customer feedbacks is taken from the market, and these customer feedbacks can be taken in any form. It can be either taken in the form of questionnaires, or it can be taken in the form of surveys, or maybe live interviews, or it can be any way. So it can be through a physical mode or through an online mode. It can be taken through social medias. It can be taken using internets. So all possible kinds of customer feedbacks and surveys are taken in requirement analysis and planning. And once the market is understood, once the business function people understand what exactly customer needs, depending on whatever the customer feedback is there, requirement analysis and planning is done. So what exactly is required in a product is initially planned in this particular stage. So that this is where the idea of a new product comes into picture, and the beginning of the life cycle, and this is where the life cycle begins. So right from the survey, or right from the customer requirements, the requirement analysis and planning is done. So what exactly is required in a product, what exactly are the customers looking for in a product is analyzed first, and whatever data is obtained from the customer is properly analyzed, and a correct plan is to be done. So once that requirement analysis and planning part is done, next comes the concept engineering and prototyping. So when it comes to concept engineering and prototyping, now the concept development team takes over from the from the marketing team. So the concept engineering and prototyping team will build several concepts based on whatever the requirements customers have told, and they'll come out with various concepts. So then it is the turn of the concept development team to pick the right concepts depending on what the customers have demanded. So concept engineering and prototyping will come into picture. So once a concept is developed and once a concept is selected, a prototype is built, and next comes product engineering. So when it comes to product engineering, so how exactly a product should look like, what are the different components that go into this product, how exactly it needs to be manufactured. So all these things comes into picture. So what is the life cycle of a product, what are the various processes that this product has to go through, what are the technical specifications of the products, what are the machines available in the plant, and in which machine these product needs to be manufactured, which tools are to be used in order to manufacture this process or this product, what is the process plan, what process this product needs to follow in order to be manufactured, which tool needs to be used, which machine needs to be used, how much time is needed in order to manufacture a particular part, how much workers are or how much laborers are needed to manufacture this part. So each and every detail about the product and about the process planning is done in product engineering. And then comes manufacturing engineering. So product engineering and manufacturing engineering people work hand in hand in order to build models which are manufacturable. So it is not sufficient if you just design a product which cannot be manufactured. Ultimately it should be easily manufactured and assembled. So even the manufacturing engineering team will be sitting together, and they will try to understand what this design is, and they'll do the necessary changes to the design based on how easily they can manufacture that particular design or that product. So once manufacturing planning is done, once the organization once the team knows how much machines are needed, how much laborers are needed, how many raw materials are needed, how many tools are needed, how many jigs and fixtures are needed. So once all these manufacturing planning, material planning, all these process planning is done, next comes manufacturing and production. So when we go to once this all these designs are finalized, and once manufacturing processes are planned, next comes the production ramp up, or the manufacturing and production. Now in manufacturing and production, at a time, all the production, or mass production does not begin. It always begins from one particular part or one particular product, and that product will be manufactured first. So once a single product is manufactured, it will be tested for its functionality. So whether it is as per the customer's requirements or not, whether it is functioning as per the desired specifications or not, so that is seen first. And once all the tests are qualified, once the product qualifies all the quality tests, then mass production begins. So next part comes manufacturing and production. In manufacturing and production, we do the production ramp up, and then the mass production of the products. So once the products are mass produced, the next step that comes in the life cycle model is sales and distribution. So once your products are produced, you need to sell your products and distribute your products. So again, the business related functions and marketing people come into picture here. So they start their advertisement campaigns, and they launch their products, and then they try to sell their products and distribute their products. So once the sales and distribution takes place, it is not enough if you just sell your products into the market. It is very much necessary to give the required maintenance and service to that particular product. So the next part that comes in the life cycle model is maintenance and repair. So it is very much essential to maintain the products and to repair the products if there is any failure in the product. So once the product is sold in the market, it is very much necessary to give after sales service. So once these after sales service comes into picture, the sales and servicing team will come into picture, and they will take over with the maintenance and repair work. So this product will be there in the market. It will be continuously coming for maintenance, repair works will be happening, and then finally, maybe after some years of usage of this product, the product will become obsolete. It will grow in the market, and then it will decline, and then it will become obsolete, and then it is ready to be disposed and recycled. So here in disposal and recycle, either the product can be again reused, either we can do necessary changes, or we can do some minor changes in the products and we can reuse the products, or we can even think of disposing the products. If the product has completely deteriorated, or if the product is completely not usable, then we can think of either recycling that product or disposing that product or selling it for scraps. So until the product is being disposed, the whole life cycle management comes into picture. So right from the requirement analysis till the disposal and recycling of the product, the whole life cycle is to be managed using is to be managed, and it is called as product life cycle management. And now during each of these individual phases, you can see all these phases here around this circle. So during each and every phase of this product life cycle, there will be a lot of data which is generated. So a huge amount of data is being generated when the whole product life cycle happens. So this particular data needs to be stored somewhere centrally, which can be accessed by everyone in the organization, and that itself is called as the information core. So whatever data is being generated in the whole life cycle, that is being stored in the information core, and this information related to this product can be accessed by each and every person in the organization. All the stakeholders, all the vendors, all the outsourcing people, all the workers, right from the lowest level to the topmost level, anyone can access this information about this product from the information core. So this particular database is being generated throughout the life cycle of this product. So this is basically how a PLM life cycle model looks like for any product. You can take any product you want, and these are the compulsory or the basic steps that each and every organization need to follow in order to effectively plan, develop, and launch a product into the market. So now that we have seen the PLM lifecycle model, we have seen the various stages in the PLM lifecycle model. So the next topic that we'll be discussing is stages in the product lifecycle. Now, initially or previously, we have seen the whole lifecycle of the product. Now we will be seeing how exactly the product goes through different stages when it is introduced into the market. Now all the previous stages which are there, which is the design stage or maybe development stage, or maybe concept designing, or maybe detailed designing, or maybe production or prototyping, all these stages will not come into picture now. So when you look into this particular aspect, that is stages in the product life cycle, these stages refer to the stages of the product when it is introduced into the market and till the decline of the product. So all the previous stages which were there, the designing part and the production part, will not come into picture here. So basically, if you look at the stages in the product life cycle, it is a graph which shows time on the x-axis and sales and profit on the y-axis. So it's a graph of sales versus profit and time. With respect to time, how exactly the sales and profit will grow, or how it will reduce. So that is what is shown in this particular stages. So basically in a product life cycle, there are 4 stages once it is introduced into the market. So once a new product is developed, once a new product is built, once a new product is ready to be brought into the market, it undergoes 4 major stages. The first stage is the introduction stage. The second stage is the growth stage. The third stage is the maturity stage, and the last stage will be the decline stage. So we'll look at all these stages one by one. So if you just observe here, the first stage is the introduction stage, and you can see 2 graphs here. So this first bigger graph which is shown here on top, this graph represents the industry sales. What is the amount of product that you are selling into the market? So this graph represents the sales, and this smaller graph which is there below, it represents the industry profit. Okay, so we have a sales graph and a profit graph with respect to time, plotted with respect to time. Now when a product is initially sold in the market, it will not have a great amount of sales. So you can see this graph beginning here from the initial stage, or right from this 0. So your sales of your product is not that great initially in the beginning, and at the same time you can see this profit curve which is going below this XY line. So you can see there is a negative profit. So there are chances that the profit might also be negative initially when your product is not being sold. So when a new product is launched in the market, it may not have the expected sales. People may not be immediately buying it. So the sales is naturally less, and if the sales are naturally less, your profits are also low. So when your profits are low, you will have to bear some additional costs. So whenever initially there is no profit, and you need to generate revenues, you need to bear some additional costs. So in that case, you will have to have a contingency fund with you or an emergency fund with you, which you can utilize during these tough times of negative profits. So whenever these negative profits are there, you need to have an additional fund with you, which you can fund and then try to improve the sales of your product. So if you look at this graph, it begins from the introduction stage. The product is introduced into the market. You can see that it is just introduced here and it is slowly beginning to pick up in the market. So your product will slowly begin to rise in the market, and slowly and steadily customers will start buying your product. So you can see this graph moving like this. It is not a linear graph, but it is gradually increasing. So when a product is introduced into the market, gradually customers will start buying your product, and you can see the revenue or the sales slowly moving up. So whenever this graph is slowly moving in this direction, then you call it as an introduction stage, wherein you have just introduced the product into the market and people are just slowly beginning to buy your product or your service. Now once there is enough publicity, once enough customers have started buying your products, once there is a review and feedback among the customers, once there are some reports about the product usage, once there is a lot of advertisements, or once advertisements and all these things come into picture, once all your product is there in the market and people are using it, then naturally the word of mouth comes into picture. People will start talking about your product, and if your product is good as per the customer requirements, the sales will go on increasing. So if there is a drastic increase in sales, that stage is called as the growth stage. You can see this growth stage here, wherein the graph shoots up. It is almost moving linearly in the upward direction, indicating that this industry sales is growing at a very fast pace. So the product is as per the customer's expectation, and people are talking about the product and people are buying the product. So whenever people start buying the products in large numbers and start accepting your product, that is when the product grows into the market. So the moment the product starts growing into the market, you can see the industry profit here. Initially in the introduction, almost in the introduction stage, there is no profit or very less profit. But when the product starts to grow in the market, you can see that the product suddenly shoots up, or the profit suddenly shoots up. You can see that there is very high profit during the growth stage. So your product is now growing into the market and customers are accepting your product and they are buying your product. So the product is just growing in the market now, and the profit is also growing. Now once almost all customers buy your product, once your product is completely bought, what happens is that the growth rate will slowly decrease, because almost everyone has bought the product. There is no need for any other people to buy the product because almost everyone has bought it. So in that situation, what happens is the sales will slowly start to reduce. It will slowly start to flatten. So it will not be going at a very rapid pace, and it will not be increasing linearly, but it will this curve will slowly start to flatten up. So that particular stage wherein almost all your customers have bought your product is called as the maturity stage. We say that the product has matured in the market. So once a product is sold and bought by almost all the customers, the product becomes matured and it reaches the maturity stage. And you can observe here, you can get a constant profit when the product is in the maturity stage, almost at a constant profit. And once almost everyone has bought the product, by this time what happens is some other competitor will be bringing a fresh and a new product which may be better than your product into the market. So whenever a competitor enters into the market now, people will naturally tend towards going to buy that particular product which has more better features. So he will bring in a much better product compared to your product, and that is when the sales of your product goes down. So when there is a better alternative to be bought in the market, naturally the customer tends to move towards that better alternative, and the sales of your product will naturally decline. So this particular stage where a competitor will enter into the market with a better product and it will result in the loss of your sales, that stage is called as the decline stage, and then people will not buy your product because they have a better option with them with better qualities and better features for a better price. So naturally they will deviate towards that product and the sales of your product will continuously decline. So this particular stage is called as the decline stage, and you can observe here the industry profit is also declining. So the moment your industry sales goes down, the profit also goes down. So this particular stage is called as the decline stage. Now this is where the organization or the top level of the organization need to make certain changes in the products. If they do not do any changes in their products and they just allow if they just allow their product to decline into the market, this graph will just shoot down and it will reach zero, and people will ultimately not buy your product at all. So if people are not at all buying your product, and if the profit is nil or profit is zero, we say that the product has reached the end of the life. People are not at all buying your product and it has reached the end of the life. So once the product reaches the end of the life, we either need to recycle the product or dispose the product, or if possible try to reuse the product. But organizations can take a decision somewhere during the maturity stage and the decline stage and try to incorporate some changes, or they can try to redesign their product and try to bring a better product into the market, so that they cannot allow, or they will not allow, this graph to completely decline. So instead of just allowing the product to end its life in the market, they can think of redesigning that product, or maybe rebranding the product, or maybe bringing out a better product than the previous version, and trying to boost the sales. So instead of allowing the product to completely decline and the loss to completely become negligible or zero, you can think of redesigning a product and then trying to rebrand it on, or try to bring a better product and sell it into the market. So that is how you need to sustain in the market. So this is basically how a product flows once it is introduced into the market. It will basically flow through these stages: the introduction stage, growth stage, maturity stage, and the decline stage. So this is what is called as the various stages of product lifecycle management. So now that we have seen the different stages of PLM once it is introduced into the market, the next topic that we are going to discuss is the various phases of PLM. So in this particular topic, you can see what are the different phases of product lifecycle management. So let's begin from the first phase. So if you observe in this flow diagram or this cycle, you can see that the planning phase is the first stage, or the conceiving stage. So in this planning stage, whatever innovation is there for a new product to be developed, or whatever changes or redesigning there is there for the existing product or a project takes place. So either if an existing project is to be, or an existing product is to be redesigned, or some minor modification needs to be done and reintroduced into the market, then that happens in this planning stage. Or if a new product is to be developed and a new innovation needs to happen, even that planning also takes place in this stage. So in the first stage, the plan and the conceiving stage, you have the specifications that are defined, and the concept design that happens. So what are the basic specifications of that particular product, and what are the various concepts of that product. Now what exactly these specifications are? These specifications are generated from the customer feedback. So as we have discussed previously, initially a customer feedback is taken, and once the customer feedback is understood, all the data from the customer feedback is analyzed, and once that analysis is done, a specification or a set of objectives or specification is defined. So these specifications will tell you how the object or how the product should look like, how the product should function, what are the features to be needed in that product, and all other related things. So all these specifications will be very specific to the nature, and depending on these specifications, the concept design is done. So the first stage is always the planning stage. The second phase of PLM is the designing stage or the defining stage. So in this definition stage or the design stage, a detailed design is done. So in the planning stage, just various concepts are done. What are the different ideas that can be generated with the help of the concept development team? All these ideas are put into paper, or they are taken out from the minds of the employees and put out on a piece of paper. And once these concepts are generated, the concept needs to be selected. So the best concept which is there as per the specifications of the customers is selected, and then a detailed design is done. So in the second phase of PLM, that is the design phase or the definition phase or the define phase, a detailed design comes into picture. So in detailed design, all the technical aspects, all the specifications, all the material usage, whatever materials are to be used, each and every detail about the product or the technical details of the product is defined. So that itself is called as detailed design. So once the product is developed and once the detailed design is done, the next thing that happens is validation and testing or analysis. And this validation can happen either virtually or it can happen physically. So you need to validate whatever designs you have done. So whatever detailed design is done, this detailed designing need to be validated and analysis or simulation needs to be done. So when you're talking of simulation, this detailed design needs to be converted into 3D models, and these 3D models need to be tested virtually. That is, simulation and analysis must be done virtually in order to understand whether they are as per the specifications or not. So once these virtual simulations are done, you can go for prototyping and you can build a physical prototype and you can test that prototype. So it is not always advisable to completely depend on the analysis results, because all these analysis or simulation that we do using computer softwares, these are all analytical in nature, or they are or hypothetical in nature. We take a lot of assumptions when we go for these online or virtual simulations. So whatever results we obtain in these simulations are not always 100% accurate, since we are assuming a lot of things, and it does not exactly mimic the real world conditions. So since it does not exactly mimic the real world conditions, and since a lot of assumptions are to be done and a lot of boundary conditions are to be applied, we cannot completely rely or completely depend on these mathematical models or on this simulation data. So it is very much necessary to build a prototype very similar to the existing or the final product, and then physically test that particular prototype to see if it behaves as per your design or not, or as per your requirements or not. And this physical testing values need to be validated with the simulation values, or need to be compared with the simulation values in order to check whether the actual model or the physical model behaves as per the 3D model or the virtual model or not. So building a prototype and testing a prototype in order to understand its working is also very much essential when it comes to testing and validation. And once these tests are done and once favorable or satisfactory results are obtained, next part comes the tool design. It is very much necessary to design tools in order to manufacture these products. So production ramp up happens, and whatever machines are needed, whatever tools are needed, whatever raw materials are needed, all these things will be designed in the design phase. So once the second stage or once the second phase is done, the next phase will be the realization phase or the building phase. Now in this building phase or realization phase, what happens is manufacturing is planned. So this tool design also comes into in this particular part. And in this realization stage or the building stage, manufacturing is planned. How many machines are needed, what kind of tools are needed, what kind of jigs and fixtures are needed, how many laborers are needed, how many raw materials are needed, how many working hours are needed. So each and every details regarding the process planning or the manufacturing or assembly will be done here. So manufacturing is planned, and the products are manufactured, the products are built, and individual components are assembled together, and then finally the product goes through the quality checking stage or the testing stage. So once manufacturing is planned, whatever design we have done, whatever design is being done needs to be realized. It needs to be converted into a physical model or an actual model. So whatever planning is done needs to be realized in this third phase, and that is what happens here. And we'll be building the models or assembling the components and subcomponents and building the final model. And once the final model is built, it is very much necessary to test this final model. However great the simulation results are, however well the prototype has been tested, all those things will not matter unless and until the final real product is being tested and it passes the test. So the final product which is being manufactured on this production plant, in this production shop, needs to come out of the testing shop successfully. So this quality checking need to happen, and whatever results are obtained from this quality test need to be compared with the validation results, or the analysis results and the prototype testing results, to check whether your actual product is behaving as per the requirements or not. So quality testing will be the last part in this in this particular stage. And once the product successfully qualifies, once it is successfully tested and okayed for large scale production, you can start building the product on a large scale. And then once the product is completely built and manufactured, it is time to sell and deliver the product. So this comes under the fourth phase of PLM, which is the assistance phase or the service phase. So in this assistance phase, what happens is, we need to sell the product that we have manufactured, and we need to deliver it to the customers, and we need to assist them. We need to provide the necessary service, we need to provide the necessary support to them, and we need to maintain the product throughout its life cycle. So the product will be used by the customers, and we need to constantly maintain and support that particular product. And once the maintenance and support is done, and once the product completely reaches the whole customer base, then at one point of time, the product will completely come to the end of its life. So customers will be saturated, and the product will be completely sold in the market. Some other competitor will come into the market with his product, which is much better compared to your product, and your product will completely saturate in the market. So this stage is called as the end of the life of the product, or phase out, or the disposal stage, and that is the last phase of the PLM. So in this disposal phase, what happens is, you need to either dispose your product, or you need to recycle the product, or you can think of reusing the product if it is in good condition, or also you can think of removing some of the components from the final product which are usable. So some of the sub assemblies or sub components which are there in the product can be taken out, and you can think of recycling those sub components, or you can think of reusing those sub components if they are in very good conditions. So these many things can happen at the end of the life, and finally you dispose of the product, or you phase out the product and bring a completely new product into the market. So this is basically what happens in the various phases or various stages of PLM. So this is what I wanted to explain in this first lecture series. So the remaining portion of the first lecture series, I will explain it in the further chapters. Thank you.